Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. We've had a little bit of a break, but Steve did a fantastic job giving us great coverage in my week gone. It's the first time, actually, I think that Steve has ever done a solo podcast, and the first time since we have restarted since 2021 that I have not been on one. So, a little bit of a break there, but as always, keeps things interesting. When you got a vacation, you got a vacation. So, got to hit it when you can. Steve,
Enjoy your time while you can,
Exactly. Got to get out on vacation, especially in the middle of February when everybody gets the winter blues. But all that mentioned, we are a 1012 podcast, part of the 1012 network. So make sure to head on over to our corporate sponsored higher ed sort of level 1012 network. Go out there on Twitter. Man, I'm really shaking the rust off.
By the way, here
terrible.
I'll get that rust off, Justin. I will just shout out Phil. I liked at least I'll be honest, I have not listened to it yet, but it's in my queue of podcasts that I want to listen to. So you made it to the queue, Phil. But he had an interesting solo. He went solo this week and had an interesting title about the problem facing Big 12 basketball, and also asking about where the innovation from Brett Yormark has gone now that he's about 2 years in. So, and at least an interesting premise. I'm sorry, Phil, I have not listened to it yet. Your boy, like my team doesn't do headphones at work, so I don't get to listen to podcasts at work. But anyway, it's on the docket. It's in the queue. But
Perfect.
Yeah, man, shout out to 1012.
Shout out to 1012 as well. Shout out to Extra Points. Shout out to Charlie Hustle. Shout out to everybody keeping this thing rolling. Again, and thank you, Steve, for helping us out on the week off. Guys, there's a lot going on right now. As much as it seemed like this program, basketball-wise, was knocking on death's door, there is yet again another revival. I just want to put this out there before we really get into basketball talk. I would like to compare the Cincinnati sports in general. Cincinnati sports, not program, the city of Cincinnati's sports. Reds, FC Cincinnati, Bengals, Bearcats, you name it. This city is full of procrastinators. It really just is. It's everybody who's like, you know what? I can put it off. I'll get to it later. I'll just keep working. I'll get to my deliverables later. And then it's like, holy shit, it's time. Everything's due. I got to make everything happen right now. And sometimes they deliver, sometimes they don't. The Bengals, oh my God, season's like a wash, but everything has to happen. We got to make the playoffs. They do everything at just the right time, and they still miss it. That's what happens when you procrastinate. Reds, we've seen it time and time again. FC Cincinnati, we've even seen it with. Steve, the Bearcats also seem to be procrastinators, as they have full stop played their way out of the top 15 to the 60s in net, and now are slowly crawling back to somewhat of relevance in the world's most complex and vast bubble that I think we have not seen a bubble like this in probably ever, but a long time. There's a lot of really bad teams and a lot of really good teams all at the same time. So, Steve, all of that to say, Bearcats basketball is winning right now. We swept the rivalry out in the great state of Utah, and we just swept the rivalry with the Blue Bonnet series. Tell us more.
Yeah, so the Blue Bonnet battle. Any of our Baylor and TCU friends who are listening, I had to just poke the bear a little bit, and the Bearcats did poke the Bears as last night as we record. Justin, they jumped out to a pretty good lead in the first half, and I was really just happy to see that we were finally able to build a solid lead. I know Baylor's on a rough stretch right now. I'm going to confirm this as I talk, but I'm pretty sure they've lost their last 7 or 8 games now. So not great, not what you want for the Big 12 standpoint, but I am more obviously this is a Cincinnati show. So I'm just happy that, for at least last night, Cincinnati got a quad 1 win. It immediately went down to a quad 2 because Baylor is right on that cut line of quad 1, quad 2 for home teams. So
isn't that nice when you do your due diligence and it actually penalizes you?
Yes. So just to correct myself, Baylor has lost 4 of their last 5, 5 of their last 7, and 6 of their last 9. So they are kind of crashing a little bit hard right now as they go down the home stretch. But you take advantage when you can. Cincinnati takes advantage, beats Baylor. It was way too close for comfort. Baylor shot the lights out in the second half. But Justin, I will say though, Cincinnati shot the ball well. They won the rebounding battle. They went 9 for 14 on free throws, which is not great, but you won the game, so I can't really get too upset about that. That last free throw was a miss, but then Aziz was able to bat it back out, and then we were able to secure the win. But solid defense on the other side, on our side tonight or last night. And Justin, I posted it this morning to our Twitter account. I don't really believe right now, but you know what? I do still like looking at the bracketologist. I don't know about the rest of you people, but for me, I've gotten into the habit where I check bracketologist every morning when it's like mid-February to all the way up to Selection Sunday, just because I'm generally a fan of the net, but also I enjoy like getting in the weeds a little bit, and it makes a lot more sense for the bigger schools because you can see, okay, this team jumped here. It's an active way to look at your resume throughout the season, which I really enjoy. And then bracketologist.com puts everything there for us. Bearcats are 53 on KenPom, but our overlords at ESPN, their basketball power index have us at 38. So I'm gonna ride with ESPN, ride the ESPN bias. How many times have we said that before on this show? Justin, I've talked too much. What do you think about the game?
Hey man, battle of the edgers. You've got Edgerrin James Jr. Going out buying some buckets, and then same way with Edgecombe. I mean, like you said, guy was lights out in the second half. Like it just felt like one of those classic Bearcats cruxes where you just find one guy who literally cannot stop making baskets from beyond the arc, and you just want everything to stop immediately. Again, like I think the really interesting thing with this game, whereas you've compared it to some of the other ones in the past, what you're seeing right at this point in the season, which I think is really good. Again, if there's a time that your team is going to get hot, it's got to be now. It's got to be late February going into March. If you're going to find a way to like have your season crumble, make it happen in the beginning or the mid, but do not have it happen at the end, because you're seeing that with Baylor. And what you're seeing with Cincinnati, as I was getting to, was again, a lot of lead changes, like you had kind of mentioned in the second half. The Bearcats cracked it open to a pretty good lead at the half. I want to say it was like 13 or 14. And it got tight again in the second half with about 9 minutes to go. Baylor had actually, I believe, took the lead or had tied. Yeah, they had tied. And here's the thing. They did take the lead with 1 point. Here's the thing. From that point, they traded back and forth again. And while it did end up close at the end, the Bearcats cracked open the lead a little bit again and did exactly what they needed to do in the closing 10 minutes of the game to shut it out against an opponent that was, like you said, shooting very well and was doing a really good job of keeping pace. They found a way to just keep that lead and not give it up again. And that's the sort of thing, that's the DNA that you need, especially in March. And especially for a tournament team, if you want to make the tournament, you got to be able to do that thing, because we've seen leads blown all the time, all season long. And I think they've shown a lot of resilience in the past few games. Like you said, Baylor is 2-5 in their last 7. The Bearcats are 5-2 in their last 7. This conference is not going to give you any breaks at all. Every team is really good, even the bad teams. I think it was tough with Iowa State and West Virginia back to back. Those were two teams that you knew were probably going to get the better of you. But with that said, to find those wins when you can against the teams that you should beat. And then with Baylor, a team that we would have said a week ago, 2 weeks ago, you could probably chalk that up to a loss. To turn that into a win, I think is really good. And again, it says a lot about the progress that the team is making in the back half of the season. And so I'm really hopeful with the TCU game. They played great too. We could talk a bunch about specifics and everything. I want to talk about one really key person here, Jizzle James. this guy has seen the gap in this team. And okay, I'm not going to pin it on one. I'm going to pin it on two. Jizzle James and Josh Reed, specifically because these are two guys who have seen this gap on the team where it's who's the leader, who's the bucket getter, who's the hustler, who are the people that are going to go out on every single play and just hustle all game long, no matter what the situation is with the score, no matter if you're up, if you're down, who's going to go out and get that bucket? Who's going to go out and find that play that just turns things around or kills the other team's momentum? Or who's going to do that? And these two guys, I think, have done a great job of it. Jizzle and Josh deserve so much praise. I think Day has done a fantastic job too, but I want to talk about these two guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at like Josh Reed, man. Like I think he was exactly what we needed, and it's no surprise that ever since he's kind of been in the starting lineup, the Cats have really turned it around. And I think the other thing too that I love about watching his game is that you can tell he's just giving it his all, you know. And I think he's like, you know, he's not like obviously like not the greatest ever, but he's definitely like that guy that you like we as Cincinnati fans love because of how much he puts into each game and how much he just loves it. So I've really enjoyed watching him play.
One thing I want to add to with Josh is like this is piggybacking off of what you're saying, but what's so interesting is he is not even maybe defensively, but he's not really top 3 in anything on this team. He's not your best scorer. He's not your best defender. He's a very good defender comparatively to the rest of the team, but he's not your best defender. You know, he's not your best passer. He's not your best ball handler, your best shot creator. He's not your best slasher, your dunker. He's not any of these things. He's not the best at any one of these categories. Jack of all trades, master of none. Sometimes that person is what you need. And I think when you look at like a guy like John Newman last year, it was the exact same thing. John was elite. He was a leader. And the reason that he was a leader and he was so good and you needed him on the court was because of the hustle, but it's because he could do a little bit of everything. There was no point when you put him on the court and said, that guy's a liability on one end or the other. And Josh Reed has done a very good job of covering all the bases, of being very available for whatever Wes needs. And he's that player that I think when you look at what has succeeded with Cincinnati in the past comparatively to what this roster is built out as now, Cincinnati's success has always come from the athlete, like the raw athlete, the guy that like if you go into 2K, you like there's no specialty that you pick. He's just can do a little bit of everything. That guy who's not like your best player in any one category has always succeeded with Cincinnati. And I think that's the best thing about having him on the team right now. And I think it honestly needs more of him is because this team was loaded with talent, but they're all one-dimensional talents. They all can only do a few things. And I think that's where you just find so much success with him. And I hope going forward that it continues to blossom. And I think more guys are starting on the team are starting to see the value of being really useful in a lot of different ways. I think comparatively, you know, Jizzle's doing a good job, but Day elite. Sorry, weird burp. Elite defensively, but great shooter. You know, can get to the bucket, can create space, super fast, super capable. Like Day is just kind of a little bit more of an offensively minded version of Josh, and I think that those kind of things are really good to have that as a 1-2 punch. But then taking all that and Jizzle, man, like it's crazy.
So, Justin, if you just take from the start of the UCF game to last night's game against Baylor, Josh Reed, it's pulling up for me right now, but he has he's hit 8 of 15 from 3 for a total of 53.3%, 9 of 10 from the free throw line for 900%, shooting overall 56.8% from the field, 7 offensive rebounds, 9 defensive rebounds, 16 total, 7 assists, 7 steals, 1 block, 1 turnover, and 59 total points for you in 162 minutes. And he started the last 3 games. He played 33 minutes last night. This guy, like, I would love to just have more time to compare him against just everybody else on the team. But
Yeah.
in that stretch, Justin, you've had Josh Reed out there for a lot of different minutes. You've won 5 of your last 7, like you said, and it started with that UCF game. You only played 10 minutes in that one, but since then 18, 24, 23, 27, 27, 33. He's been a big part of this team. And Justin, it kind of makes me wonder if he was either hurt or like something happened with practice or something like that, because there was that weird stretch right where he didn't really play much. Like, just go like the Arizona game, he did not get on the floor. Same with the X game, he got on the floor for a minute. Like he kind of worked his way out of the rotation, kind of after the Villanova and Howard games. And credit to him, man, he's been grinding in practice. And he wouldn't have made his way back onto the team if for that, because I'm sure there's been a lot of guys too who in the same situation would have probably just put their heads down and said, okay, I'm just gonna enter the transfer portal after the season. I'm done. Like I'm not really getting my time here. But credit to Josh, man. Josh is a dog, and I've loved everything that he's been doing.
Absolutely. And I think this is actually a quote from Wes. It's talking about Day, but I think it applies to Josh, and I think it applies to some of the guys who are succeeding on this team right now. Which is his specific quote is, "That's what toughness is about. It's not about making every play and doing everything perfect. You don't make a play and then you respond and have the toughness to want the opportunity, to want the ball, and to go make winning plays." I think it's a great quote, but it applies to a lot of these guys recently who have just kind of found their lane. And I think in the inverse, it also kind of shows where the lacking effort is for some of the other people on the team. Um, it's very clear when you see from the beginning of the season till now, some of the guys started in the rotation, and now have honestly worked their way out. And to the inverse, some of these guys were completely off the radar and now have made themselves a staple onto the team. And so I think when some of those guys have sort of switched in their roles, you have guys like Seamus and Dan going from the starting lineup to the bench, and then you have guys like Josh going up to the starting lineup. I think it just helps prove the case, and with Day too, it helps prove this case that there are certain things and formulas that work for this team and some don't. And the most important one out of all of them is consistency. Consistency, it doesn't even come down to shot making, it comes down to effort. And you can see that. You can see it on the play, and it comes down to the reliability. And if you are reliable, you will get on the court and you will get minutes. And I would also like to commend Wes in all of this too, because I think Wes has caught so much flack this year. I think part of it deservedly so. But I'll say this much. He's shown adaptability as a coach with the amount of guys on this team that he's probably promised a lot of minutes. And I think that that's a really important thing, because you look at a guy like Seamus, you look at a guy like Dan thought he was going to go to the NBA. Like he was like, I'm going to be done after this year. He's now on the bench. Like, you took a guy that was that confident. You took a guy that was probably going to be one of your most talented players and said, sorry, it's not working. Go to the bench. Seamus, who's a senior, who's done after this year, who's a very good player, but like, it's not really been working out. He said, okay, well, I need to win right now. See ya, gone to the bench. And I think these kind of things, those are tough decisions for coaches to make, especially for guys that that you're trying to get them minutes. But I think it just reflects on his ability to adapt and his openness to try to make this thing work and trying to find the successful lanes. And I think a lot of people just gave him so much shit for so long about not really creating like a winning team. I think all the pieces are there and we're seeing it now. It's just sometimes you got to work that out. Sometimes you got to knead that dough and find the people who are going to succeed. And I'm glad that they've done it. And like you said, to the point with Josh, basically had kind of got smothered out of the lineup. And, for some of it was, oh yeah, the roster looks really good. But by the time we got to the thick of conference play, he was just kind of a late rotation player, maybe like 9th guy on the rotation, was not getting a lot of minutes. And like you said, has certifiably turned himself into a starter at this point. And I think that reflects really good on him. And I hope it shows up in tournament time when it comes to the Big 12 tournament. And shit, man, do you think they can do it? We're talking all this and we've kind of danced around it, but it's bubble mania, man. This bubble is wide and as vast as it could possibly be, as we said earlier. And there's a lot of teams in contention right now. A lot of teams in that like 18, 17 win window. And are the Bearcats capable of getting there?
Yeah. So right now, Justin, the Bearcats are at have one person on Bracket Matrix who has lovingly decided to give them a shot at getting to the dance. So shout out to that one person. It said on Bracket Matrix his or hers, I don't care. Name was like CFN. So I don't know if that's even like College Football Network, who's like putting us as a 12 seed. So out of all 114 brackets, we're on one. So I think there's really one scenario, Justin, where we get in, and that's everybody else loses ahead of us loses 3 or 4 times, just to be safe, 5. And there's only like 3 more games left in the season for everybody, so it's probably not possible for everybody to lose 5 more times, but you never know. So you have to hope for some chaos. Now, I will say you beat Baylor, who is currently in the field, and teams that are currently in the field, you probably only have wins over BYU and Baylor. Xavier's not there right now. Dayton's not there right now. So those wins are not really coming up as crucial as you thought they might have. But if you continue to win, and then obviously we can talk a little bit about Saturday. Justin, you remember better than me. How many straight has it been that we've lost to Kelvin Sampson and those Cougars?
It's like 12, 11 or 12.
And it's been a bell. The score has been a bell curve, and it's gone up and down. I feel like we get closer, and then we get beat by 20. So, and my hope is that Houston, they already won their share of the title. They're probably going to win it outright. They delay that party for one day and then do it against Kansas on Big Monday night. Do a little bid stealing. Let those Bearcats get a nice little win off you, and then get to the tournament. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we can keep it close, Justin, but I'm just not really optimistic that the Bearcats are going to walk in and just beat Houston. But crazier things have happened in this season.
That's fair. I think, and it's interesting too, because, it really does feel like, which sucks, but this is where I come back to the procrastination talk. It feels like your thing that's going to get you in is winning that game, and the thing that's going to keep you from getting in is not winning that game. And of all teams that it could be, it's Houston, which has your number. Like, I mean, if it was, we got to play Iowa State again, or we got to play somebody else who's ranked again, or like play a Texas Tech again, like I would rather take any of those than Houston, just because they've got us figured out, man. And I think it's going to be a really difficult situation to try to, like you said, go in there and win. Thankfully, like Houston's not exactly a like a Fog Allen type of referee situation. Like, it seems like they call it pretty fair most of the time. It's not like there's always a total imbalance. But again, like, you're playing on the road, there's always going to be some home whistles. There's going to be some things that aren't really going to help you out. And I just don't see how. I think it's going to be really difficult for the Bearcats to try to pull one over there. I mean, if they do it, it's going to be a 1-point game, and it's going to be a 62-61 game, or it's going to be a game that has somebody scoring in the 50s. That's just sort of the formula for Houston, Cincinnati, but I think it's going to be the case again this time, and I'm hoping they can score. I'm hoping they can figure it out. Like you said, not super confident. I don't know if I've still got. Oh nope, Steve's gone. Okay, but all of my points, I think, still stand with that. The really interesting thing with Steve mentioning the bracket matrix, which I'll add in here too, is if you look at the other at-larges currently on bracket matrix, so the cutoff all the way to the 16 seed has Ohio State, North Carolina, Georgia, Xavier, SMU, Boise State, and Cincy. Those are all of the other at-larges. And when you look at the rest of those that are there around us, we do have a win over Xavier, and we do have a win, granted, exhibition off season, so it doesn't really count, against Ohio State. But you do have a win over at least one of those at-larges that's sitting right next to you. And so I think it's a little bit tough to hope that everything goes right. But again, like, I mean, if you steal that game at Houston, I think you jump from this straight into a seed, and you have to split the final 2 games and maybe win 1 game. That's what that Houston win, I think, will do for you. However, when you get to the actually, I forget who said it today. I'll have to find it and give him a shout out. But somebody else had mentioned today, which is a very good point about the importance of winning in the Big 12 tournament. And it's useful, but again, it's kind of a positioning spot, because we've seen this in the past where like they don't really put importance on that tournament run unless you have a really deep tournament run, like winning 4 or 5 games. It's really just for, hey, this guy was a 5 seed, maybe he deserves to be a 4, or this guy was a 5 seed, he didn't look so hot recently, let's drop him down to a 6 or 7. And those kind of things I think are where it's helpful. But if you win 3 or 4 games, if the Bearcats can avoid day 1, which I think would be huge here, if you can avoid day 1, give yourself an extra break. You won 2 last year. If you could do it again this year, and if you can get Houston, or if you lose to Houston and win the final 2 and then win 2 more in the Big 12 tournament, you're going to be right there. Like you're part of the conversation. But I'm just really curious with how deep, quote unquote, the SEC is, with how deep some of these other conferences are, and the fact that they've kind of downplayed the Big 12 this year as in compared to years past. How valuable do your wins become when you get to that point? And I have a feeling we're going to be that first team out or last team in, no matter what happens. Like we are the cut line wherever it is. It's probably going to be the case.
Yeah, and like the other thing too that we've got to remember is that like I think you and I and like a handful of Bearcat fans are the only people that are talking about this. Like, there's not really like any like blind resume talk with Cincinnati. They're like they have unfortunately like they had a lot of great chances, or like that. I think January is unfortunately what did Cincinnati in, because if you just don't drop all of those games like you did, you probably have a better chance, especially with Kansas fading away, and then obviously K-State not being very good in general. Like there's just been a couple different opportunities where if you it's the same as last year, Justin. If you flip a couple of results, you probably are in the tournament, and you haven't done that, so you're probably going to be going to Vegas to play in the college basketball crown, not the NIT. Everybody, the college basketball crown. We're going to be crowned. So it's not entirely the most realistic thing, but let's play it out. Let's see what happens. Miracles do happen. But you're right, Justin. Like, I don't think the Big 12 tournament really matters. So it's kind of like it's all in for Saturday. And then you kind of got to, I think you have to probably win the next 2 games regardless. So you probably need to win out.
Yeah. And so with that said, too, we might as well hit on it. Between now and our next episode, we will have the at Houston game and then Kansas State at home. Of course, Kansas State has been a little bit all over the board. So this will be kind of like our closing point on them. Currently sitting at 13-14. If you look at their record as of late, they went on a terrible. They have been the streakiest team in the Big 12 by far. There's literally nobody else you could compare them to. They started off with a win against us, which of course was just, we had to be the sacrificial lamb there. And then lost 6 straight, which then they proceeded to mirror with winning 6 straight, which included 4 top 25 teams, and now have lost 3 straight. So this is the weirdest team in the entire conference. If I was a Kansas State fan, I'd be ripping my hair out because it would be so confusing to figure them out. I want to add this because it's just insane. If you look at their losses, they have 2 with that streak. They have those 6 losses straight. Their wins were against 23 West Virginia, at number 3 Iowa State, 16 Kansas at home, and 13 Arizona at home. That is an insane resume. In the middle of that, where they really got things done, guess what their losses were in the last 3? BYU, Utah, and Arizona State. It's like, of all teams you're just going to crumble to, how does that happen after you just beat 4 ranked teams? It just doesn't make sense. And
that Utah trip, man, it does some teams in. I mean, it kind of did that to us. So
it did it to us. Kansas suffered the same fate too. I'd want to look across the board and see how many teams just got killed by that that back-to-back visit. But of course, everybody's kind of doing it just on that trip because it just makes the most sense. But it's an interesting one, man. They've got those guys have got everybody in the back-to-back. That's 3 teams that we've just listed off there that have figured it out. And of course, Kansas State is playing at UCF right now, currently down at the half by 7. So we'll see how that goes. Again, we need UCF to win that game. We need the UCF to keep winning. We need some of these other teams around us to help us out. And we're going to need Baylor to keep winning. And maybe some of these teams that were Q1, where Q2 can go up, into the next bracket and get back to where we need them. But it's going to be interesting. And we're going to need help from everybody else as much as we can. But more important than anything, got to do yourself the favors, which we have not over the course of the season. So hopefully we can figure that out. Teams that are doing themselves favors. Steve, please give us the rundown on the Diamond Cats, man. They have figured it out. They are ranked. If you would have said at the beginning of the season, beginning of like the 2024-2025 Bearcats sports season, did you think that the Bearcats baseball team would be the one that was ranked?
I mean, I wouldn't have said a complete zero chance. It wouldn't have been surprising to me, but man, this team, like they don't quit. They fight, they scrap. They were down a bunch of different guys this weekend, and they decided to, just go ahead and win a dang game on Sunday where they were down by 6-0 in the 3rd inning. So, and they won 10-9 with 3 runs in the last inning. They've only lost, so they've played 7 games this year, 4-3 record, but their 3 losses are by 1 run each. 2 are by walk-offs, and 1 came with the last run, team's runs coming in the 8th inning, and then UC had to go back at the top of the 9th. So pretty impressive. 3 1-run losses with the run coming in the other team's final at bat. I think this weekend they kind of just ran out of gas because I think they're probably better than UNLV, but they ran out of gas. They lost Carrington Cross on Friday, and he did not play the rest of the weekend. So it's a little bit unsure about that. He's probably our best hitter. So it is a little bit worrisome to lose him. So hopefully he's okay. Also lost Tommy Boba for a season, exciting relief pitcher. So hopefully he recovers and gets better. But, I do like what we've got on this rotation, Justin. And I want to shout out my guy, Nasty Nathan Rogers. Nathan Taylor. Dude had 11 Ks in 6 innings on Saturday. He was dealing a deal fest, absolutely shoving. And this guy is, it's a lot like a lot of the guys on this team. They're not like the most highly rated guys, most highly recruited guys ever, and I'm lying if I'm saying I'm following college baseball recruiting because I'm not. But, that's kind of what Jordan Bischel does, man. He brings these guys together and he teaches them a style of ball that's just going to annoy the hell out of other teams. And credit to UNLV, they fought back and they were able to take advantage probably of, being on your 4th straight day of pitching. Your pitcher's almost out of gas, especially if, Cincinnati only got 2 outs out of their Sunday starter. So, just having to fill at least, 8 1/3 innings, and obviously whatever they had to put in their bullpen again on Monday night. So the grind does not stop for them, Justin. No siree. They play another 4-game set this weekend, starting tonight as you listen at UC San Diego out here on the West Coast, Best Coast. And Justin, UC San Diego is a little bit of a smaller school, but it's not the same as obviously football or basketball, man. Like it's the West Coast and Southern baseball schools that you need to watch out for because they're usually like they're just able to play like more, especially at home, and home team always kind of trumps in baseball because you get last bats. But I really like what Jordan Bischel is doing, man. And they make Justin. I was watching a YouTube stream with it was just a solo cam from the press box with no movement. Like you couldn't even see where the home runs were landing. That's how there's nothing going on the screen. But I was listening. I was tuned in Friday and Saturday. Didn't get to tune in Saturday or Sunday, but or Sunday or Monday. But this is what we do to grind early in the season and watch these games. So hopefully a little bit of a better broadcast this weekend. But I really like what they've got right now, and hopefully some of these, Carrington Cross is able to come back. Loudon Brooks didn't really play very much over the weekend. I think he did. I know he did have to leave the Saturday game in the Duke series, and so hopefully he gets better. I'm sure Bischel is probably holding these guys out just until conference play, just because you don't really need to have them until conference play starts. So, but
Right.
Justin, anything, if you split another series and you come back from the West Coast 4-4, I completely would take that, because it's a long trip on these guys' bodies, and it's got to be hard for them to have spent 10 straight days on the West Coast and then come back. They don't have a home game until a week from yesterday, as you're listening. March 5th is their first home game against Toledo. And you know what? Actually, looking at the weather right now in Cincinnati, it does look quite nice. So opening day in Clifton might be a pretty fine place to be. 45% chance of showers, a low of 40, high of 62. Maybe not, but hopefully the rain holds off. But Justin, man, I know you're not the biggest baseball guy, but let me just pose this to you real quick. Would the baseball Bearcats be more interesting to you than professionals, the Cincinnati's professional team, if they continue to stay ranked and just keep playing this way?
1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%. Here's the thing. And I think, again, this is just a baseball situation tied into like some of the other sports like hockey too, but it's just the sheer amount of games. Like it's so hard to like keep track, and the seasons go so long. And comparatively, to the Reds, like I'm usually just like, oh yeah, cool, we're out by July and everything's done. So I think that's the thing where with Bearcats baseball, like it's interesting because we've talked for a long time, about what could be that third sport, what could be the thing that for Cincinnati could help just get them on the map a little bit more in the Big 12. I think baseball really could be it. Bischel just seems like a dog, like somebody who can actually go out and tie together some wins. Is a really good coach, and I think somebody that we could feel really confident in. And so I'm hopeful that they can keep up sort of some of the momentum. Clearly, they've shown that they've got some good bats and they can score. And I think one of the things that translates, for baseball, especially in this type of sport versus some other ones, is when you're literally down by like a run. There's so many swings and momentum, just like basketball. But when you're down a run like that at the end of the game, I mean, you've put a lot out there, and I think it shows that there's a replicable system that can carry over throughout your season, and especially if like all your losses, like you said, are coming by like one run, everything's super close. You're able to keep these games tight. Having that ability to stay in games, I think, is really important, and especially when you can do that on the road and you can do it against quality teams. And then being able to, just go out there and, win a 19-5 game against a team like Duke, who's ranked on the road. Like, that's just a big FU right in the face. Like, there you go. Like, you need that, you need to beat up some of these big teams, and you need to beat up some of these teams that, traditionally, like, you're just kind of going to meddle around with. And so I think if they can do that, and they can just stay competitive, it's really good. I don't know exactly what the formula is number wise. Because again, you'd probably know this off the top of your head, but of exactly how many games really is the magic number to sort of get in.
So fun fact, I actually did tweet this the other day. So that is, if you've paid attention to any of the baseball team's tweets, I'll repost it right now as we're recording, about the 10 games hashtag. I've seen people wonder, what does that mean? Like, why are we using this hashtag? And it is an acronym standing for different things that they want to do, but that is the amount of more games that they want to win this year, to think they have a chance of not just being in the dance, but hosting a regional here, and playing that way in the Big 12, especially as a northern school. Like winning 38 games would be huge, because last year, Justin, if let me just check myself, but I think they were just over 500. I'm sorry, they were 32-25. So he said 28-28 in the video, but they, if they could win if they could win 10 more games than last year and win 42 games, that team's definitely in the postseason, if not hosting. And that would be
Mhm.
just amazing to have like a regional on Cincinnati's campus. I don't think enough people in Cincinnati know the wonders of college baseball. So like just imagine that crowd, Justin, like on a weekend
Oh yeah.
in May, like hosting a regional, and then all goes right, hosting a super regional too. Like, brother, that would be awesome. So I'm really optimistic, man. Like they've got a good chance to do some damage this year. They've got they've got a good start. They've got a good start this year. With the Duke, like it's a hard road. They had Duke
Mhm.
and they won that series. They split against UNLV. Maybe not be the greatest team, but obviously traveling on the road, staying on the road, UC San Diego, and then the first 5 home games are one against Toledo and then 4 against Canisius. So hopefully you can rack up a few wins there. Miami's always a tough team, and then the Big 12 play starts March 14th here in my favorite state of Arizona, down in Tucson, and your boy will be there, Justin. That's my
He will
only
be there.
time that I will get to see like see my team in the state, because the time that the women's team was here, I was like out of town and I couldn't go. So I'm definitely I got a buddy from UC who actually lives down in Tucson, so I'm trying to go probably Saturday night, if not Friday night as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, like you said, just got to keep winning. If there's anything we can learn from our friend Mick Cronin, just tying this into baseball because I love this quote. You act like these guys are like struggling. Oh, it's so hard to just go out to sunny LA to sunny California and play. Oh, what a tough road trip. Well, hopefully it is sarcastically very easy, and maybe they can take advantage and maybe not sweep UC San Diego, but maybe they can go out and get some wins. Maybe they can split the series. We'll see what happens. Be very curious to see how all that unfolds. But big road stand there to finish off that road trip. And I think that paired with basketball, like it's going to be some important games happening. Some really important games happening soon, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Steve, guess what? It's time. You got to hit us with more points. How many
More
points?
points?
Extra
Well, some
points.
extra points. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So extra point newsletter brought to you by Matt Brown. Don't hold his Ohio State fandom or degree against him. This guy knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about, and he's been writing a lot about just the future of what college sports is going to be. And Justin, there's just a lot of different things in the news like every day with college sports. It's so hard to keep up, especially if you're like us and you're working for a living and you're not just able to be glued to your phone all day to be court case or this Congress hearing or whatever's going on. But you know who's following it and got it covered? Matt Brown. And it's really insightful stuff, Justin. Like I've really enjoyed reading a lot of his work. He also, interviewed our friends at the BYU Lot 18 crew, and who we got to enjoy a pregame with. And, he did other fun things, like he got to travel for a football game with on Hawaii's charter plane. He's gotten to host his own bowl game within the past year for D3 teams. This guy's doing it all, and he's really just about the love of college sports and trying to understand like the business behind that and get in touch with the right people. So if you're interested in learning more about college sports, hit up our friend Matt Brown. Go to extrapointsmb.com to subscribe today. You get them 5 days a week in your inbox. And if you'd like to read more, there is a premium level available, and you can go back into the backlog and read a bunch of great stuff. He's done a lot of great reporting, especially with the EA college football franchise, any type of conference realignment move you would ever want to hear about, from NAIA, AIA, all the way up to the Big 12. I think I just made a new league there, Justin, the NAIA. But
NIA,
yeah, but
EIEIO.
Old McDonald had a farm, and Old McDonald would read Extra Points by Matt Brown. So go to extrapointsmb.com and subscribe today. Premium content available.
Beautiful. And as well, a shout out to our sponsors, Charlie Hustle. Guess what? Diamond Bearcats have figured it out. They're winning some games. And you know who else has some Diamond Bearcats merch? Charlie Hustle. That's right. This beautiful baseball tee is available for the grand total of, I believe, $33 at the moment. So head on over to the website, check this bad boy out. Get it in your closet. It's an absolutely great purchase to have. Very versatile. Can use it for baseball. Can use it for basketball. Can use it for football when the season comes back around. You can use it anywhere. But of course, Charlie Hustle's merch is always fantastic. Super quality, comfortable threads. You can get everything from jackets to t-shirts to the in-betweens and long sleeves, hoodies, you name it. They've got it all. So go on over to www.charliehustle.com/collegiate. Check out all of their collegiate apparel. Great wide offering. But of course, Big 12 focused, and we appreciate that about them. So speaking of the Big 12, the 10-12, use the promo code 1012 network. That is 1012 network on Charlie Hustle's site for 15% off all non-sale items. That is good as long as we give you that ad. And again, that is a new promo code. So for those of you who are used to hearing it and used to knowing it, it is no longer 101215. It is 1012 network. So use that promo code at their website and check out some awesome Bearcats gear. And as well, remember, it's not just for you. It's also for your friends. It's also for your family, which means that if they got other teams they're fans of, Charlie Hustle might just have it in their lineup. So head on over to the website, check it out, get you some good merch. Quality, vintage, it's perfect. It's a great combination. So make it happen.
Vintage made fresh.
Vintage made fresh. Yes, of course. Speaking of things made happen, Steve, the IPF is officially complete. The Death Star of Clifton is complete. And it is ginormous, beautiful, and as you said pre-show, somehow they managed to fit that giant honky right in the middle of campus. I don't know how they did it. It is a feat of architecture.
That's why we got DAP on this campus too, baby. But seriously, it's very impressive. And I think they're still just, waiting to move in because they got to put the turf down and stuff. And so it looks like spring practice is going to be still outside, on Nippert Stadium for the time being. And then the hope is that, I would imagine they probably want to try and move in right before football season starts, right? Or, they get all the other stuff moved in right before training camp starts. So I am, as a longtime staffer of the football team, and as someone who I think I could say this now, the statute of limitations is gone. I once popped the bubble by running a lift into the side, and there was a hole to the outside that you could see. And Gunnar Keel and many others on that 2014 team were laughing at me. And my faithful bosses had to go get some red tape and try to tape that all together. So it was a good chuckle at the end. I didn't get yelled at too much, but I don't really think I got yelled at. That that's what the program was like back in the day. Everybody, that was the Tommy Tuberville days. So that was people were not really being held to account. But getting back to, it's just Justin, I don't know if you ever got to spend time in the bubble, but I got to spend many a day in the bubble, and it was just it just was not really long-term sustainable, right? It's just you have to basically, they had to spend a week, the bye week, putting up the bubble. You couldn't practice on a full field in the bubble. There was just all this weird half nets and stuff. And so now that we have this indoor facility that they're going to use every day of the year and going to be able to have their entire operation set up in there, it's just I kind of wonder, honestly, Justin, if once it got cold in the winter months and practicing outside every day, honestly, it kind of makes me wonder if being able to practice inside for just 2 days. Obviously, maybe you try to do the walkthrough outside just to get used to the elements, but just try to maintain your body and maintain that body temp. I think that'll, every little advantage we can get to get these guys to a bowl game is going to be huge this year. So it's just a testament though to how much this program has done over the past 20-25 years. Could you imagine, Justin, in 2000, realistically, the football program has gotten a lot more investment than the basketball program has.
Yeah, that's true.
Over the past 25 years. And I'm just very impressed to see that it's finally all come together. I think the Big 12 did kind of push that along as well to try and continue getting athletes in the door and getting them on campus and showing them all these cool things we have, including the indoor practice facility. So, Justin, I would love to try and go on a tour someday of it. So we have a couple birdies that may or may not, depending on what we say over the life of this podcast, continue inviting us. But Maybe one day when we're both back in town, we can go make it happen, because I would love to go see it.
That would sound nice, wouldn't it? I'd love to see it too. I mean, and it's a great thing too, like you said, beyond the functional aspect, like the physically functional aspect of having an indoor practice facility, like you said, the value of having that for recruiting for all sports is just massive. It's a thing that certifiably puts you in that like big time D1 program, bracket. And of course, we've all looked at ourselves as that way. But I think for a lot of recruits, being able to walk into a facility like that is really eye opening. Like you could say, like, yeah, look at this cool thing. Guess what? The Bengals downtown don't even have this. The Bengals don't even have 3 meals a week. Guess what? We got you covered, y'all. We have it figured out. Shout out to the Bengals for having the worst grade for their cafeteria in the entire league. Anyways, random fun fact I learned today. All of that to say, these are great recruiting tactics beyond anything else. It's a very valuable investment, and I think it only just gives you tenfold back what you put into it, with just the professional level that you can provide, professional level of care and facilities that you can provide to athletes of all kinds that are going to be walking through your door. And man, like, basketball is one thing, but especially for football, being able to like walk in there and a recruit just going, wow. Like, I mean, other than maybe if they're, especially those fringe guys who might not be getting offers from Ohio State or, like Alabama or some of these giant football programs, for them to be able to walk into this comparatively to any MAC school, to any, mid-major G5 school, like this is certifiably the best you're going to get. Like, look at it. It's right in front of you. Those kind of things I think are really helpful. So I'm hoping that translates to better recruiting, and I'm hoping that it translates to, just like you said, better performance from the athletes. And I think it will be helpful. It'll help them get prepped for all types of road trips too. So all good things, and I'm glad it's done. And it was a long time coming. I mean, I think we started talking about the IPF, like 3 years ago, something like that, 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But
It's wild, and it's like I think it's been just and talked about in general for years now. So it's just crazy to see it like officially be there, and just like kind of pop up out of the sky. So
well, especially for us who aren't on campus all the time too. Like I remember driving by it, even in November when I came down, or December, coming down for the shootout. Like it's like, oh wow, they made a lot of progress since I last saw it. Like it was just
yeah,
bare bones. Like they had basically broke ground. Next time I saw it, it was a full framework. And then fast forward a few months, and oh yeah, the whole thing's done now. Like
yeah,
what? Like it's just things happen so fast, and it's I feel like a stranger every time I walk on campus now because it just looks so different.
yeah,
Which I think is crazy considering that we were most recently as students on campus as post or at COVID. Like it's been a whirlwind few years. So
yeah.
cool to see all the changes happening around campus all the time. I think it only helps, bring in more students and bring in more money and bring in more wins at the end of the day, which is what we care about. And that's what we're
That's the
here to
hope.
talk about. Speaking of wins and losses, Steve, we've got some catching up to do on the Ghost team, our teams. What's the situation as the scoreboard currently stands?
Yes, sir. So I've really enjoyed doing this, Justin. I think this has helped me, especially when we were at our worst, in the depths of January when it sucked. Like I've stayed in following the Big 12, been able to watch some games. Tony Padilla, by the way, who had the UC game last night, is a scourge against humanity and should not be allowed to call Big 12 games. If you saw the end of the game, BYU in Arizona, you know what I'm talking about. If not, just go look up the call. It was a brutal. But Justin, you and I are ahead of the pack. I've got 9 ahead. I have my teams, Houston, Arizona, TCU, Oklahoma State, combined have 71 wins this year. Houston and Arizona obviously leading the pack there. And then you've got, Justin, you have Iowa State, Kansas State, BYU, and Utah. You've got Iowa State and and BYU really leading the pack there. You have 68 wins, good for 6 more than the Ghost team. Our buddy Joel, too, he's had a pretty good week. Kansas, Cincinnati, West Virginia, and Arizona combined right now. Arizona State combined right now for 66 wins. And you know what? I just hate to see it when the Ghost team just decides to drop all of their most recent games. But the Ghost team took a hard slide this weekend. There was only one team on the Ghost team that won. Well, no, two. Tech won, but Colorado beat Baylor, which was a rough, a tough scene to go into Colorado and lose, especially this year's Colorado team.
Yeah, no kidding.
They stinky. I mean, they almost got Kansas the other night too, so maybe they're turning it around. But the Ghost team only has 62 wins: Baylor, Texas Tech, UCF, and Colorado. And we've got Justin. We've got your boys, Kansas State, playing at UCF tonight, and we've got Arizona playing tonight, hosting Utah, and BYU at Arizona State. So we might have a little bit more clearance on the schedules. But I think the Ghost team really needs some help from Texas Tech and Baylor to make a deep March Madness run, because if not, the Ghost team, they can't do anything because they're not real. But that means you and I and Joel are getting off scot-free on those running exercises that we had potentially mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, well, and here's the thing, you look at the tournament teams between our teams. You have two, a possible bubble team in TCU if they get their shit together. Joel has one certifiably, two possible bubble teams if they get their shit together. And then I have pretty much two deadlocked, and then the other two are certifiably out. So interesting makeup of all those teams. But of course, we mentioned this off the show this morning, but when we were looking at this, interesting fun fact, as it comes to the tiers, if you'll recall at the beginning of the season, those who listened that far back, thank you if you did, there were 4 tiers for these 16 teams, which were 4 apiece. We successfully, at this point in the season, have picked the best teams out of each section, which is difficult to do, all except for the second tier, where Tech was actually the best team. The worst team is on the Ghost team for each tier, which is great, except for that Tech one. So, impressive work, Steve. Impressive work, Joel. Impressive work to myself. It is a skill to draft this good.
We have really been killing it. So I pat on the back to me and you.
Yes, of course. And
you did lose a head coach though, so maybe we'll have to dock you a point for that. Utah's coach got fired, but somehow still was able to beat the Bearcats in Salt Lake City. So I mean, why just let it go, man? Let it happen.
I mean, here's the last point I'll mention for those of you who just need to get learned on the Big 12. Here's a learning for you. BYU, great late round pick all the time. Worked for me for football. Picked them like second to last pick. I picked them my second to last pick this time around. And pretty damn good team to have around at the end of these drafts. So lesson learned for those of you who did not pick BYU. That's all I have to say about that. And with all of that mentioned, Steve, Big 12 head-to-head. I mean, we've got some time before this Saturday game against Houston, so there's not exactly some clear lines. I don't know if you got one.
I've got a line pulled. So at barttorvik.com, I'm on the Cincinnati team page. Justin, Bart Torvik's site has Houston favored by 15 points. Projected score. Christ. Yeah, seriously, with a projected score of 69-54, that is 123 if my linear college business math tells me correctly. So, Justin, Cincinnati, Houston, Cougars are favored by 15, and the over/under is 123. I would imagine that would put the money line probably in the 400 to 450 range. So, what you got for Saturday?
100% taking the Bearcats to cover, because holy shit, that is a wide margin. I'd say the most favorable number, like if I were to make a prediction, it would have been like 8.5, maybe 9.5 as a stretch, but 15, that's a big number. And the Bearcats have clearly figured out their offense as of late. I don't think that just falls apart at the seams against Houston, even though it's on the road. And these guys are hungry. And Houston's been winning a lot. Maybe we can trip them up. I don't know. So I'm going to take the Bearcats to cover. And this is the game screaming for the under. And with that said, I'm going to take the over.
That's completely fair.
It's just the only way it works.
Since Cincinnati has decided to score more points, they've also decided to give up a lot more points.
Yes, exactly. And Houston can score points when they want to.
Yeah, trade a lot of offense for defense after the dodgeball game. So, Justin, I will say that last week on this podcast, I was recording the day before the West Virginia game, and I correctly picked the Bearcats to cover the 3.5, which thank you, Dan Skillings. Thank you. You single-handedly caused an emergency bad beats segment on SVP, and I don't think I've ever seen that before. So shout out to you, because I had turned off the game after like one of those turnovers, and I was looking at Twitter and it's like, no, Dan, like people were getting excited, and I turned on the game, and we got a wide open look too, and that was I felt bad for Betsy because he had a pretty clean look at that, and I think freshman, that's a tough way to end a game. But credit to him, man. By the way, I don't think we mentioned him earlier, but he's been killing it in his additional role, and he's been a solid part of the rotation for the last 5 or 6 games. But I think I would probably take the Cats plus 15. I don't think Vegas will open it at that. Well, maybe they'll open it at like plus 8, plus 9, and then bet it that way. But if it was like a plus 9, maybe I'd be a little bit hesitant. But I'd definitely take Cats plus 15. And I parlay it with the Cats money line. Come on now. Like if there's got to be one day where Cincinnati can finally rise up, it's got to be with their backs against the wall, with a team that has just basically made them their little brother for about 6 years now. And like none of these guys have ever beat Houston. Like I'm sure they would like to get that one off. And I've talked a little bit about like unifying wins around West. Imagine what that one would do for everybody. God. And if it gets you in the tournament, that would be just huge. So, and by the way, there's this little site called Teamcast on bartorvik.com. So if they he also has a routing guide too. So if I skip forward to Saturday and I go to the game Cincinnati at Houston. If Cincinnati wins this game, their bid, it's the Bartorvik right now has about 34%, 33% with a win after last night's win of a bid chance at a bid. It jumps up, Justin, to 67 if they beat Houston on Saturday. So it's honestly a huge leverage game. It only drops to like 30%, but you're probably not getting in anyway, like I mentioned, if they don't care about conference tournaments. So this is a huge game. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. It would be shocking. Literally, I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. It would be shocking to see it happen, but shock the world, boys. 4:30 on Saturday. CBS. You got the March Madness music going. Shock. It's officially March on Saturday, by the way, Justin.
Yeah. Shock the world. If I were like Jizzle James, or if I were a player on this team, I would just be playing that shit on loop in my headphones for the game. Like, just
that March Madness, that like the future version of March Madness, that March Madness, back and forth. It's crazy that it's almost March, Justin.
It really is. Like, this season has gone by so fast, and I think here's the thing that I want to say. We're just gonna throw this out there for everybody. We're gonna play like 5 seconds of this because, get that. That's right. That's the tune. That's the feel. The vibes are good. We're gonna get back. It is the year of the get back. You know who killed us last year and many years before? Xavier. You know who killed us last year? Dayton. You know who killed us earlier in the season? BYU. Utah. Guess what? Baylor. They got us too. It's the year of the get back. We're getting revenge on some teams that have screwed us over, and we're going to get revenge on Houston this Saturday. We are going to kill the Cougars, and it's going to finally be our time. The Bearcats are going to ride the highs straight into the tournament. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Let's go, Bearcats.
Let's go. Let's
Vibes
go.
are great. Vibes are
I
great.
love
And
it.
then once we
Oh,
lose to Houston, then I will just be sad. And then I can
then
officially
it's
just
over.
log off.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
No
It's okay.
podcast
Remember,
next week, everybody, if we lose. No
guys,
podcast.
actually, I'm just going to add this as our final point on this. This is a win-win situation for Bearcats fans. If you lose this game, other than like the most miracle run in the Big 12 tournament, you're done. And mentally you can log off. If you win this game, you are 1,000,000% back in. Like the
All the
string is
way
back
in.
on. So like you either get to turn off or you get to turn on. But there is
Yep.
no more like meddling around in the middle, like, oh, could they be good? Could they suck? Like this is the game that is
Yep.
just everything comes down to this. So
Yes, sir.
let's just hope that it's a win. Let's ride the high until then. I'm excited
Just
for it.
see what happens. Just see what
And
happens.
for once and forever, I'm excited to play Houston. Thankfully, we only have to play them once this year.
We had to hype
Maybe
ourselves
twice.
up to get back into it, but we're there.
I don't miss the playing Houston 3 times in a year.
No,
Scenario.
I'm good on
That
that.
kind of sucked. So glad we can avoid that. Steve, let's close it out. Bearcat Sports Wrap Up, and we are on the move.
So we are going to start with the Bearcats wrap up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lacrosse, they defeated Kent State 15-4 up in Northern Ohio on Sunday. And as we recorded, Justin, final score from Nippert Stadium, Cincinnati 18, Xavier 11. So
Nice.
Kings of the city in yet another sport. We might just be going for the full season sweep. I have to look at but we might be on our way. So hopefully the baseball team can do some damage. I did not check the women's soccer team. I don't know if they won, but maybe I'll do some background reading. Moving on, lacrosse, they did beat Xavier today, and they will host. I'm pulling up the schedule now. This is great radio for everybody. They will play at Central Michigan this upcoming Sunday, and then they will have a week off before they play at Ohio State University next Friday. But we'll cover that next week. Then we are moving on to women's basketball. They won a big one last Wednesday at Texas Tech out there in Lubbock before dropping Sunday's game against Utah. They finished the regular season with 2 ranked matchups, one that is happening as we record right now against Oklahoma State. Bearcats are down by a few points in the third quarter there in Stillwater, and one at home against West Virginia on Senior Day this upcoming Saturday. One more time for y'all to be able to watch Jillian Hayes play basketball games at home in the regular season. Go support her. Go be there for her Senior Day. She's a dog. So all respect and love to Jillian. Hopefully she gets the crowd that she deserves. Swimming and diving and indoor track and field both have their conference championships this weekend. The women's 200 medley relay team for swimming and diving grabbed silver, broke the school record, and secured an NCAA cut time with a time of 1 minute 36 seconds yesterday in the meet. So they are in the thick of the swimming and diving conference meet for this week up in Seattle, weirdly enough. So, keep on swimming in Seattle. And then the indoor track team, Justin, I just wanted to put this out there for you real quick in case you didn't know. Our men's indoor track and field team currently ranks 4th in the country in shot put, 13th in long jump, and 17th in the weight throw. So they will compete this Friday and Saturday in Texas for the Big 12 title. Maybe they could bring home a couple events. That would be great.
We got some hefty throwers.
Yes. Shout out Fred.
Move.
Fred Mudani, man. He's I'm pretty sure he was either an Olympic trialist or an Olympian for France this year. So he's our guy. He's in the shot put. He's a dog. So shout out to him. And then finally, I just want to give a quick shout out to a team I don't think we've ever talked about on here, Justin, that wears the red and black. And that would be, and by the way, soccer did lose to that blue school, so we do not have complete dominance, but
it's okay.
You got some time. There is one sport that we have not talked about where Cincinnati is excelling. That's dodgeball, Justin. Did you know that our dodgeball team, national champ? Maybe we talked about them when they won the Natty a couple of years ago, but they are once again ranked in the top 10 this year. So shout out to them. Hopefully they can continue to keep doing the damn thing, keep on dodging, ducking, dipping, diving, and dodging once again. So that is our Bearcat Sports Wrap-Up for this day, Thursday, February 27th.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Steve, It's nice when the Bearcats succeed at everything. It's just nice.
Oh, by the way, Justin, also, I meant to shout out to my brother Nick. Cincinnati Rocket League ranking, we are number 11 in the country in as a Rocket League team.
Now
So
that's valuable right there.
yes, now that's a skill right there, brother. I tell you what. So now, like, I mean, hey, football and basketball, it's okay. We got baseball, we got men's indoor track and field, we got we got Rocket League, and we got dodgeball. I mean, who's got it better than us?
We who does? We've got the important sports covered. And actually, you know
That's
what?
right.
Just to add to it, UC disc golf still absolutely banging some chains. Love
That's
to see
right.
it.
That's right.
Steve, I have to ask you this. This will be our closing question on the way out. Are you a Rocket League player? And if so, what's your rank? Because we've never talked about this.
So I currently do not own a gaming system, so I cannot currently call myself a Rocket League player, but I have enjoyed playing in the past in limited opportunities that I've had.
Okay. Well, for those of you who need to know, as it's always wondered, what's your rank? You know, you got to know. I used to play a lot more. I don't play as much anymore. But where I last left off was Champ 2. That is where I left off. That was as of a few months ago. So still can't crack getting up to Grand Champ. The systems have changed over time, but if you took my skill, put it in the past, I probably would have been in Grand Champ scheme way before the cut line and everybody else got really good. So it's okay, Steve. You know what? You got 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds who are just like pro level players, and it's the most bewildering thing to me. You also have like 80-year-olds who are doing it too. I don't get it. It is the world's game. It is the world's sport.
I just watched Pablo Torre, Dan Soder, and Katie Nolan watch Rocket League this week. So, or play Rocket League this week. So, you know, I kind of got close.
Dude, it's electric, and it is probably the best esport there is to watch. So, if you haven't, go check that out. And if you can find a way, we'll try to link something. We'll try to help you watch the Bearcats play some Rocket League, because got to support the red and black wherever they may be. Joel was not able to be with us today. That's okay. That's okay. Sweet boy. But it's okay. He just sent us a text, which actually threw me off.
No, that was me. Sorry.
Group chat.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so Justin, I want Justin to watch this real quick. Justin, this is what we'll end the show on. This is a clip from tonight's game that just happened of Michigan State and Maryland, and I want you to just watch it and call the game as you react.
Okay. All right. It's 55-55. Michigan State, Maryland, at Maryland. Takes a shot from Maryland. Oh, no. It's a brick half-court shot. Heave. Michigan State. Good. Oh, my God. Tom Izzo, man. He always finds a way. That is ridiculous.
It's Izzo, man. It's almost that time. And
dude, it's March Magic. That's his time. Like, he's ready to shine. Like, that's
such a
shot.
Big Ten game. 58-55. Just like, and
let's talk about this though. Maryland, you're at home. You are tied 55-55. You take a shot from the three, contested, not really a good look, with a grand total of about 4 seconds left on the clock. Drive to the bucket. Do something. You got a man wide open.
Fouled.
Kick it out. Do anything other than what you did. That's just a terrible shot. Rebound goes straight to him. And unlike last night, you don't have an Aziz Bandago deflecting that shit and winning the game for you. It goes straight in Michigan State's hand, and they win the game. So that's rough. And
our man Scott Van Pelt was he was wearing the Maryland gear this week on his show, and he was like telling people to get there early, saying traffic doesn't matter, saying he was going to talk some trash to Tom Izzo before the game. And Scotty, I'm sorry, I hate that for you. When I'm down, I like to see others get down with me.
Oh, agreed. And you know who's going to get down? That's going to be the Bearcats after they get the dub. They're going to smoke that Houston Pack for the first time in years. So let's keep the vibes high. We're going to enjoy it.
Pause down.
Pause down. We hate Houston around here. They're probably going to beat our ass, but that's fine. We are Viva La Cats. And as always, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our corporate overheads of the 1012 network. Shout out to Extra Points. Shout out to Charlie Hustle. All the people who help make this happen. And shout out to you, the listeners, as always, for helping us stay afloat in the troublesome times of Bearcats sports. It's on the up. Things are getting better. It's okay. We'll be there, guys. We'll be there for you when we're down. We'll be there for you when we're up. So enjoy it. Go Bearcats. And as always, remember, Viva
La Cats.
Beat Houston.